We all think we know the story of David and Goliath. It's a tale that's been told for generations, passed down through families, echoed in classrooms, and retold in countless books and movies. Goliath, the Philistine giant, stands in the valley of Elah, armored from head to toe, his weapons gleaming in the sun. For 40 days, he taunts Israel's army, daring anyone to challenge him, his voice booming across the valley. The soldiers are terrified, paralyzed by fear. No one dares face him, until David, a young shepherd, arrives on the scene almost by accident. David isn't a soldier, he's just there to bring food to his brothers and check on their well-being, a simple errand that will change everything. But when he hears Goliath's insults and sees the fear in everyone's eyes, something stirs inside him. He volunteers to fight, shocking everyone around him. King Saul doubts him, thinking David is far too young and inexperienced. He offers his own royal armor, hoping to give David a fighting chance, but David refuses. It's too heavy, too unfamiliar. Instead, David chooses his sling, the tool he knows best from years of protecting his flock from wild animals. It's simple, but it's what he trusts. He steps onto the battlefield, facing a giant with nothing but a staff, a pouch of stones, and his trusty sling. The odds seem impossible. David loads a stone, spins the sling with practiced skill, and lets it fly with all his might. The stone strikes Goliath's forehead, his only unprotected spot, catching everyone by surprise. The giant falls to the ground. David rushes forward and finishes the fight with Goliath's own sword, sealing his victory. The underdog wins. It seems like a miracle, a one-in-a-million shot, the kind of victory that legends are made of. We tell this story as proof that faith and courage can overcome any odds, inspiring us to believe in the impossible. But what if we've misunderstood the real lesson? What if there's more to this story than meets the eye? What if David's victory wasn't a miracle, but something far more logical, something rooted in skill, strategy, and understanding the situation? What if the outcome was never as unlikely as we think? Maybe the odds were never stacked against David in the way we imagine. Maybe we've been missing the true point of the story all along. Let's look closer and see what really happened that day in the valley. When we think of David's sling, it's easy to imagine it as nothing more than a child's toy, something simple, almost harmless, that a young shepherd might use to pass the time. But in reality, the sling was a deadly weapon of war, feared and respected on ancient battlefields. Ancient slings were incredibly powerful, capable of launching stones at speeds that rival those of a modern handgun, with enough force to shatter bone or pierce armor. In the hands of a skilled slinger, this simple tool could hit targets with lethal accuracy from astonishing distances, making it a true equalizer on the battlefield. David, as a shepherd, had spent countless hours, day after day, mastering this weapon, using it to protect his flock from lions, bears, and other predators that threatened his sheep. His accuracy and speed were not the result of luck or chance, but of relentless practice and necessity, forged by the dangers he faced in the wild. So when David stepped onto the battlefield to face Goliath, he wasn't improvising or gambling. He was relying on the weapon he knew best, the one he had trusted with his life for years. Goliath, on the other hand, was built for brutal close combat, weighed down by layers of heavy armor and weapons designed for hand-to-hand fighting. David was a projectile warrior, trained to fight from a distance, using speed and precision to his advantage. This wasn't a fair fight in the traditional sense. It was a complete mismatch of styles and strategies. By refusing Saul's heavy armor, David chose speed, agility, and the freedom to move quickly, rather than relying on brute force or protection. He turned the battle into a contest of range, accuracy, and quick thinking, playing to his strengths and changing the rules of engagement. Goliath, expecting a close fight, never stood a chance against a skilled slinger who kept his distance and struck with precision. The sling wasn't just a lucky charm or a last-minute choice. It was a carefully chosen strategic advantage, honed through years of experience. David's victory was the result of skill, preparation, and a deep understanding of his weapon, not luck or chance. Goliath looked invincible, but the details tell another story. The Bible says he needed an attendant to guide him. Why would a champion need help? Many believe Goliath suffered from acromegaly, a condition causing gigantism and poor vision. His size was impressive, but it came with serious drawbacks: slow movement and limited eyesight. When Goliath mocked David for coming with sticks, he may have been seeing double. His heavy armor made him even slower, a lumbering target. The very traits that made Goliath terrifying were also his greatest weaknesses. David saw what others missed: a slow, vulnerable opponent. Goliath's strength was an illusion. His weaknesses were fatal. David exploited them perfectly. David's real strength wasn't physical, it was his outsider's perspective. Saul's soldiers saw only a battle of brute force, but David saw something different. As a shepherd, he'd faced wild animals using speed, intelligence, and tools, not strength. He knew not to fight on the enemy's terms. David's confidence came from experience, not arrogance. Rejecting Saul's armor, he freed himself from the rules that paralyzed everyone else. He played to his own strengths: agility, accuracy, and unconventional thinking. David's strategy was to fight his way, not Goliath's. He turned his outsider status into an advantage. The soldiers saw a boy. David saw a winnable fight. That made all the difference. This wasn't a duel between equals. It was a clash of two military mindsets, each representing a different philosophy of combat and survival. Goliath represented brute force and tradition, heavy armor, close combat, and the belief that size and strength alone could decide any battle. David, on the other hand, embodied speed, agility, and the power of long-range attack, using his wits and quick reflexes to outmaneuver his opponent. The Israelites were trapped by Goliath's rules, forced to play by the giant's expectations until David changed the game entirely. He refused to fight up close, turning the battle into a contest of distance and precision, not brute force. Goliath expected a sword fight. David delivered a sniper's strike, catching the giant completely off guard. The stone David launched was no mere pebble. It was a deadly projectile, expertly aimed and hurled with incredible force. It struck with the force of a bullet, shattering expectations and ending the fight instantly. Goliath never had a chance to react, his strength rendered useless against David's strategy. David's victory wasn't luck, it was a calculated, strategic win, the result of preparation and understanding his enemy's weaknesses. The outcome was decided before the first stone flew, because David had already changed the rules of engagement. David's approach rewrote the rules of battle, proving that innovation and courage can triumph over brute force. That's why he won. We call David the underdog, but is that really true? Goliath's size and armor looked impressive, but they hid fatal weaknesses. His disease made him slow and half-blind. His armor made him immobile. The Israelites saw only surface strength and missed the vulnerabilities. David's skills, speed, and outsider's mindset gave him every advantage. His sling was the perfect weapon for this fight. The real underdog was Goliath, trapped by his own limitations. David's victory wasn't an upset, it was the logical result of strategy over brute force. We misidentify underdogs by focusing on appearances, not reality. True advantage is often hidden. David saw what others couldn't, and that's why he won. The story isn't about luck, it's about seeing clearly. The real lesson of David and Goliath isn't about miracles, it's about understanding power. The giants we face, institutions, problems, competitors, often look unbeatable, but they have hidden weaknesses. Their strengths can be their undoing if we refuse to play by their rules. Like David, we must use our unique strengths and change the terms of the contest. Victory comes from creativity, courage, and seeing what others miss. The giants only win if we're intimidated. When we stop fearing them and start thinking differently, we gain the upper hand. The stone is in our hand. The giant is waiting. All it takes is the courage to act. That's the true power of the story.